Welcome back, YouTubers, to OG Blade Reviews. Blade lovers everywhere. This is the place to be. I'm showing you new stuff all the time. You know it. And a variety, not just one kind of knife. And this certainly is an unusual type of knife. It's a Fred Perrin concept, and it is by Bastinelli. I'm OG Blade Reviews, by the way, and here we are, and here we go. And this is one that I have sought after, shall we say, for a while. It finally became available, believe it or not, well, not hard to believe, at Love Them Knives. Lee over there at Love Them Knives has a great webpage with lots of knife sales. He puts up plenty of them. I've sold some of my own through Lee, as well as bought one or two or three. And this is one of those. So Bastinelli, you know, comes in just a plain kind of a cardboard box, nothing fancy. And this is referred to as the Harpy, as in the ancient Greek mythological harpies, right? Weren't the harpies the ones that were on the shore beckoning the sailors to jump off their ships? Or those were the sirens. Anyway, forget Greek mythology. I'm no expert. This is the Harpy. And Harpy does go back to the ancient mythological times of, I believe, Greece. You can fill in the blanks from there. Comes in a nice Kydex sheath. Generally, the Bastinelli Kydex sheaths are a little on the thin side. This is well done, and they've made provisions here for a DCC clip. This does appear from the markings to be a genuine DCC clip, okay? Discrete Concepts clip, I believe is what that stands for. And will ride in the pocket to about there, or in the inside the waistband, probably a little bit better, because that would be kind of high out of the pocket, although the clip is adjustable. You've got these two down here, and it doesn't look like with this particular clip it's going to go anywhere else other than there or there. Okay, I haven't tried moving it around, but I would tuck it inside the waistband. Very nice. And you've got this interesting hole here, and there is the knife. It is, Fred Perrin designed some wicked little tools, shall we say, for self-defense. And it's a fairly lightweight knife. We've got a green G10 on this one. Easily grasped and just melds right into the hand, I have to say. Now, this may not be your cup of tea. You may think this rather unusual, doesn't have a standard sort of a handle. You can hold it without putting your finger through the ring and get 3 fingers on there, or you can get all 4 fingers on there by putting your index finger through the ring. And I don't think this potentially endangers the user perhaps in the same way as a karambit. There are those that don't like karambits because of the whole degloving and that kind of thing that was brought out by Ed Calderon and the El Libre fighter group and so forth, Ed's manifesto, where they don't care for rings. It's a bit of a different ring, okay? And your finger's not going to fit in there too deeply, only to the first joint. I mean, you could go in deeper there. But it is a claw style knife. It's designed for gross motor defense in the same way that the Pical knife that is highly touted by the Calderon group is, you know, jab and rip, jab and rip. This is basically same thing, jab and rip. Interestingly enough, because of the fact that the blade isn't too heavily curved, I mean, there's a general arc here, but you can literally jab with this knife too, which is pretty cool. that you can use the point and then rip. But for those that are not practicing knife skills, knife combat methods and so forth, you're not taking classes from either the Libre Fighter group or, let's say, Michael Janich's group, I forget what they're called. Anyway, you pick that up, pull it out of the sheath, and you've got your swinging action, your clawing action. One of the most basic cutting instruments in nature. Many animals have claws. This is basically a claw. It's from N690. A lot of people liken that to 440C. I think if it was 440C, they just call it 440C. I don't think they came up with Bowler N690 to fool us and have something that was 440C but didn't need to call it that. It's by Fox in Italy. It's got a few more attributes, positive attributes, than 440C. All the N690 steel I've got a lot of Bastinellis in N690, have held an edge incredibly well and do hone to a very sharp edge. Now, I haven't tried this one yet, but I just happen to have some paper over here. And the first purpose is that stabbing and ripping, and that's got a fine enough point, but still a robust enough point to where it's not going to be frail. Now, if we were to go and check the edge, yes, it is quite sharp. Well, if you do it right. Yeah, I mean, it's good, especially when you start going point first. But you've got a fairly long edge in there for a knife that's a claw-like knife. Normally with karambits and so forth, they're a bit shorter than that. But measuring it up, the only way to measure it's going to have to be sort of a compromise here from the pommel to the point. We're going to call that 7 1/4 inches. And in metrics, 18.5 centimeters. We've got a cutting edge of 3.15 inches or 8 centimeters. We're not really going to measure it from there because your finger is going to take up that space. That's really not the blade. This is the blade, and we're only going to be concerned with the cutting edge. As far as other measurements we can take with a caliper, handle in inches, quite thin, 0.45. I thought it would actually be thinner than that. And we got a blade stock of 0.16, so fairly robust, you know, fairly robust. In millimeters, that is 3.9 millimeters, almost a 4 millimeter blade. And we've got 13.8 millimeters across the handle. Finally, in weight, and let's go to grams first, because then it's one step to ounces. Knife alone, 115 grams, or 4 ounces, 405.7, we'll call that 4 ounces. If we add the sheath in, we've got, you can't see it, but I can, 5.42 ounces, okay? So really a fairly light sheath, talking fractions of ounces. It does feel thin in the hand, you know, and yeah, I mean, you do have the capability, I know with, if you're hanging like a karambit off the index finger or pinky, you can use the rest of your fingers for stuff. We do have a, as with all Italian knives, I've noticed, all or most, lion steel as well as fox, and this is fox, we have a crown spine. And with most Bastinelli knives, some excellent file-like jimping. So you're not going to slip off with the thumb necessarily if you don't have that, but it gives you a really nice, secure, tactile sense. And, you know, this is the only grip you're going to need with this, really. That's what Fred Perrin was designing for us, a simple yet very effective self-defense tool. Let me bring out some compares. I selected compares for knives that had either similar rings or had a claw-like nature to the blade. How about this from Brous Blades, B-R-O-U-S, Jason Brous. This is his Econo line. This is the Silent Soldier. Very similar, but it's a folder. And you can hold it the same way. We don't have the claw that you have on the Harpy. It's a straight edge here, but it's angled down so that it's pretty much point first. You can also hold it this way. You've got enough of a shelf there, choil area if you want to call it that, right? So you can grip it this way. If you do want to get fancy, yes, you can turn it into a karambit. It's kind of spreads that pinky away from the rest of the fingers in an uncomfortable fashion. You can hold it this way. You can choke up this way. You can hold it this way. Lots of different holds for this knife, but it was more or less designed to be held this way. And it's a very short claw sort of a blade, which is not a claw, but can function like one. We've got the FLN from TKL Knives, really a karambit, and the handle that Tim provided me with, we can either put the extended with the ring handle on it and make it a bona fide karambit. By the way, he makes this in an all steel ring as well. But I like this, fits really comfortably, 3 fingers, okay, plus the thumb. And this will function much the same way without the ring as the Harpy. Really thick stock. This one I think is, by the way, USA made, yes. It is a Neves Knives design, Jared Neve. There's his logo. This came out a while ago. This is a Gen 1. They're currently in the process of making a Gen 2. Nice little double DCC clip arrangement there for a horizontal carry. We've got the Gara from Beyond EDC. And that's a Dirk Pinkerton design. That is not with a hole, but it is a claw, and Gara is Spanish for claw. It does have a gentle swoop inside here and is definitely the same concept, but without the ring and not being a fixed blade. It is a very smooth action folder with a fuller opening method. And we'll see if we got room for a few other things here. Here is the Strelet, an O-stop Hell design. This is more of a push dagger folder. Really interesting, and that's definitely a little claw, almost like a thorn on a rose. Strelet is a fancy name for a bird of paradise flower. That one I've reviewed before. In fact, you'll see reviews on all of these. And finally, before I do one last compare, here is the Regiment Blades, and it is called the Low Vis Non-Metallic. That's an Al Salviti design. No hook and no metal. That's all G10. Really neat. This one, however, is more designed for the thrust, but you can definitely rake with it as well. Completely non-metallic for non-permissive environments. You can figure out what that means. And finally, just because it's another design by Fred Perrin, here we have the Street Beat, a very well-known design by Fred Perrin. And guess what? It's got its own version of a finger hole here, except it's a deep choil area between the blade and the handle that locks you in and gives you some nice indexing. Excellent jimping here. If you didn't already know, Fred Perrin and Bastinelli are both Frenchmen. Okay, Bastien Cove is his name. And he knows Fred Perrin quite well and was inspired with many of his designs by Fred Perrin. So that's why I'm bringing this guy out, the Street Beat. But let's tuck a few of them away. And if you had any questions on any of these, you can certainly throw them in the comments. There are metallic versions of this, by the way, and there are folding versions of the low vis by Regiment Blades. Nice review on Regiment Blades, by the way, on the Knife Junkie, my good friend Bob DeMarco. But these are all representative of either claw-type blades or blades with a hole in the blade. I'm sure I've got one or two more that I could have brought out, but those are the ones for now. Taking another look around. Thick enough stock to have a decent point that is both wickedly sharp as well as stout enough to avoid breakage, and just feels, excuse me, so comfortable in the hand. Just fits right in. I mean, it's basically it's adding a claw to us humans that don't have claws or fangs or stuff like that. At least none of the people that I know. Recommended. And I picked that up fairly discounted because it was previously owned, not used, but previously owned. It's a brand new knife as far as everything else goes. But you can pick these up for, I think, for under $200 at a number of different resources such as Knifecenter, White Mountain, a bunch of places, if you're interested. And right about now, I don't know how that happened. I was supposed to zoom in, not zoom out. Right about now, you'll see my logo over here. Don't forget to click on that, and you can subscribe to the channel. Be well, be safe, stay safe.